What happened? What is this place? Some sort of genjutsu? No, this is something else. It's like we're in a different dimension now. Is this one of his Mangekyo abilities?
That's right. This is the ability of my right eye.
What exactly did you do?
As if I'd be dumb enough to just explain my abilities to you.
Orochimaru says and charges at the group. Everyone prepares for round 2. The Snake Man reaches the group at an incredible speed and slams his fist into Shisui's arms, which he managed to raise just in time to block the attack. The punch sends the young Uchiha flying backwards, but Fugaku, Jiraiya, Itachi, and Hiruzen all attack Orochimaru at the same time. The group gets into a taijutsu clash with the Sannin, who pulls out the Kusanagi blade from his mouth again to combat Hiruzen's staff and Itachi and Fugaku's swords. Shisui soon recovers and joins the battle as well. Incredibly, Orochimaru is able to fend off the entire group at the same time. The boost from the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan has made him more physically dominant than all of them combined. Soon, the fight evolves and everyone starts using elemental jutsu. Fireballs, water balls, mud dragons, lightning bolts, and giant tornadoes tarnish the area. Seems like sending us here was a mistake. Here we can go all out without having to worry about the village.
You really think so? Well then, how about this?
Orochimaru's right eye widens slightly as he looks into the ground. Suddenly, numerous giant spikes rapidly emerge from the water, almost impaling several members of the group. Then the Snake Man looks up at the sky and seemingly out of nowhere, many bowling ball-sized meteors start raining down from the heavens. Too many to dodge. Fugaku activates his Susanoo and shields the group. The meteors slam down on the Susanoo, making it shake a little, but not doing much damage. What's going on? Seems like he has the ability to manipulate the environment in this dimension however he pleases. That's why he brought us here. He has complete control of the battlefield now. Is there anything we can do to counter this? The way we are now, we're just sitting ducks. Every jutsu has a weakness, no matter how powerful it may seem. There is a way out of this, we just have to find it. This jutsu is incredibly strong and has a wide scale. I bet it uses up a ton of chakra whenever it's activated. Our best bet now would be to survive as long as we can and wear him down.
Seems like you're starting to understand the situation you're in better now. But I would recommend not getting too confident.
Be careful, everyone. So far, he's only used the abilities of his right eye. His left is still completely unknown to us. Everyone, get closer to me. I'm going to reverse summon us out of here. Just then, Orochimaru looks at the group and a massive mountain of earth and mud bursts out of the water right beneath the group, separating them all from each other and dispersing Fugaku's Susanoo.
As if I'd ever let that happen.
Back in the village, Guy opens up the 5th gate and delivers a massive uppercut to one of the snake heads, putting it out of commission. The other 2 heads attack Guy, but he's able to dodge and weave around them. That's when Sasori steps in and uses the 3rd Kazekage's Iron Sand to send an immense number of poisoned needles at the Geonin, who's still in mid-air and can't dodge properly. Guy prepares to open up the 7th gate, but before he can, a giant earth wall emerges from the ground below and blocks all the needles. Kakashi has arrived. Or rather, a clone of him. The real Kakashi sneaks up behind Sasori, holding the Kubikiri Bocho in his hand and swings the giant sword at the puppet master. Deidara screams for his partner to watch out, but it's too late. The puppet master is about to get chopped in half when suddenly Kimimaro jumps out in front of him and blocks Kakashi's blade with a sword made of bones. Numerous razor-sharp bones then come out of the boy's body in an attempt to skewer the copy ninja. Kakashi's eye widens at seeing the strange Kikigenkai, but he's able to dodge the attack and jump back. Just in time too, because a pillar of Sasori's sand crashes into the roof where the Jonin was just a second ago. The copy ninja weaves a few hand signs with his free hand and launches a thunderbolt at the sand, disrupting its magnetic properties and making it fall to the ground. Kimimaro capitalizes on this and bursts forth at Kakashi as soon as the sand's out of the way. The Jonin and Orochimaru's top soldier get into a Kinjutsu clash. Kakashi's longer and heavier weapon giving him a power and range advantage, while Kimimaro's lighter, shorter, multiple blades give him the agility, maneuverability, and versatility advantage. Guy and Kakashi's clone work together to take out the three-headed serpent. Together, they're able to achieve this feat rather quickly, but they're taken aback when an incredibly fast dragon comes flying at them from the sky and detonates right next to them. Kakashi's clone is able to kick Guy out of the way, saving him, but the clone gets blown to smithereens. Sasori focuses all of his attention on the taijutsu master in front of himself and attacks him with his ultimate jutsu, the Needle Sphere. The attack's wide range makes it impossible for Guy to dodge, and he's forced to open up the 7th gate to blow the sand away. Sasori's eyes widen as the Jonin suddenly charges at him and punches him in the face, completely shattering and vaporizing his puppet head. The puppet master's body drops to the roof, motionless, and so does the third Kazekage puppet. Knowing that being in the 7th gate for long will ruin his body and that he has no way to attack the mysterious bomb-dropping enemy above, Guy decides to go back down to the 5th gate and help Kakashi deal with Kimimaro. The two Jonin, working together, decimate the Sound Ninja, but before they can finish him off, another bomb drops from the sky. And this one's far bigger than the rest. A giant C3 is falling on the village. Guy and Kakashi realize that if those smaller bombs were destructive, this one would probably wipe out half the village if it was allowed to detonate based on its size alone. Kakashi activates his Mangekyo and starts kamuing the clay doll away. While the two Jonin are distracted, Deidara swoops down from the sky and quickly grabs Sasori's body and the third Kazekage puppet. Kimimaro, seeing his chance as well, gets up and jumps onto the bird. Just as Kakashi finishes teleporting the massive bomb, Deidara vanishes back into the clouds. Meanwhile, Kushina makes a decision. There's really no way they can safely get the Bijuu out of here. She resolves herself to seal both of the creatures into herself. She starts weaving the hand signs to perform the jutsu. Now! Zetsu, who's been watching the battle and relaying everything to his superior, shouts. Far away from the village, Tendo and Madara both place their hands on the ground and two summoning circles form. The two Bijuu under their control disappear from the village and appear here, in the forest. Madara uses the Sharingan to make Gaara return to normal, and Tendo summons the Geromazo, pulling the Five Tails into it. The Akatsuki had already sealed that particular Bijuu into the statue, so it was connected to it, similarly to how Obito was able to seal the Bijuu in the war. The two men then stand up. Seems like Sasori and Deidara have already retreated. Most of the Sand and Sound's forces have been wiped out as well. Orochimaru is off in his pocket dimension battling a few of the strongest people in Konoha. So far, this mission's not resulted in the death of any of our main targets. Let's just hope Orochimaru himself doesn't fail to keep his promise. I doubt he will. With his Mangekyo powers, he should have no issue killing them all. It's all a matter of if he plays around too much or not. Those abilities of his are troublesome, though. We've known that we can't trust him ever since he joined us. How long do you think he'll remain on our side? Nothing's stopping him from betraying the Akatsuki at any time he pleases, and we know he isn't loyal. I'm well aware of that. The best case scenario would be for the Leaf and Orochimaru to destroy each other, but with his powers, I doubt that's even a possibility. His dimension works similarly to mine in a way that it's a separate plane of existence that only he can access. That's where the similarities stop, however. In his world, he can manipulate and control the environment however he pleases. In exchange, it consumes large amounts of chakra and requires a decent startup time to transport people into it. And unlike me, he can't teleport separate body parts into it. Probably the biggest difference is that he can't use it for traveling. He always comes out of his dimension in the same spot he entered it, so it can't be used as an escape option or a teleportation technique. An ability like this seems extremely powerful but has some clear drawbacks. What I'm more worried about is the ability of his left eye. Indeed. The right eye controls space, and the left Back in Orochimaru's dimension, the battle rages on with the Snake Man constantly putting pressure on the group and not allowing them to meet up all in one place by shifting the environment. Shisui and Itachi find each other while Orochimaru is busy dealing with the others. They try to discuss potential strategies, but before they can get anywhere, the Sannin locates them and launches a massive fire jutsu at them. The Uchiha duo counters this by both launching a fireball jutsu. The two fireballs collide and fuse together, gaining enough power to cancel out Orochimaru's attack. Suddenly, the Snake Man bursts out of the flames and attempts to stab Itachi. Shisui, being the faster and stronger one of the two Uchiha due to having the Mangekyo Sharingan, jumps in front of his friend and raises his arm to block the attack. But out of nowhere, his hand instantly returns to the position it had been in a moment ago. Time lag. An ability that allows Orochimaru to return a person or object to the state and position they were in 1.5 seconds into the past. He basically turns back time, but in an instant and only for that one object or person. If used correctly, this ability can be devastating, especially with the element of surprise. Shisui's eyes widen at the sudden change, but before he can do anything else, Orochimaru's sword pierces the Uchiha's chest. Shisui coughs up some blood. Orochimaru smirks.
One down.
Seeing his friend gets cured, Itachi lets out an uncharacteristic scream. He's about to lunge at Orochimaru, but stops when Shisui looks over to him, still barely conscious.
Keep your cool, Itachi.
The voice of his best friend is enough to pull Itachi back to his senses. What is he going to accomplish if he attacks Orochimaru all by himself now? No, he needs to pass the information Shisui died to get to everyone else. The young Uchiha sheds a tear, but regretfully leaves his friend and body flickers away. Just before he does, Shisui notices one final thing before his friend's out of his vision field. Itachi's Sharingan pattern had changed. The Uchiha smirks.
Did getting to see your friend survive for a bit longer cheer you up? Don't worry, you'll soon meet him in the afterlife. Well, if it exists anyway. For now, though, just know that after you die, I'll be taking your eyes. They would probably benefit me pretty well, don't you think? You do wield the strongest known genjutsu in the world, after all.
As if I'd ever let that happen. Shisui weaves the hand signs for a fireball jutsu and shoots it at Orochimaru's face at point-blank range. The Snake Man easily brushes away the flames.
A valiant but futile effort.
Orochimaru sees Shisui's face. The point-blank flame bomb had hit the Uchiha's face head-on and completely charred it. Shisui had used the last of his strength to burn his own Sharingan to a crisp, preventing Orochimaru from getting a hold of it. Further away, a clone Itachi had left behind to witness his friend's last moments, having seen everything, poofs away and relays the memories it had gathered to the real Itachi. The real Itachi regroups with Hiruzen and Fugaku and explains what he saw, what happened to Shisui. The two experienced ninja look at Itachi with sympathy in their eyes. Both of them know what it's like to lose a close friend. But there is no time for mourning, and the three men prepare for battle and attempt to figure out what their enemy had done. It's clear that this is his other eye's ability. It must be.
You said Shisui's arm had just returned to the side after he had lifted it up?
Not just that. It was instantaneous. One moment it was up, and the other it was down, with no movement and no time passing at all. To me, it almost seems like Orochimaru somehow reversed Shisui's action.
An ability that turns back time?
Probably not. Why would Itachi and Orochimaru's positions remain normal if he just turned back time? Perhaps the jutsu only affected Shisui? It could be an ability that turns back time, but only for a single person. If that's the case, we have to stick close to each other and protect one another whenever he uses that jutsu. We mustn't get separated by any means.
There's one thing that bothers me. If Orochimaru can reverse time,
Why didn't he turn Shisui back to when he had the Sharingan and prevent him from doing what he did? There are probably limits to his power. Maybe it has a large cooldown and can only go back a very small amount of time. It might even not work on dead things for all we know. If it's either the first or the second option, that would give us some much needed leeway. Before the group can say anything else, something comes flying at them at great speed. The group collectively jumps back and the object crashes into the ground. As the dust settles, the group sees Jiraiya. Could have at least softened my fall or something. The Sannin complains to the group while attempting to stand up. What happened? Jiraiya points a finger. That happened. Everyone follows the direction he's pointing in and sees Orochimaru, clad in a Susanoo ribcage and approaching them rapidly.
What an unfortunate spot for him to end up in.
Jiraiya, get us out of here, now! Wait, where's Shisui? He didn't make it, but he bought us some valuable intel. Orochimaru can reverse time, but probably only for a single person. Come on, let's get out of here. Jiraiya doesn't waste time and jumps to the group, as Orochimaru is about to collide with them as well. It looks as if the sage is about to reach the group first, but he's suddenly teleported back to where he was before. Orochimaru has used his ability once more. The Snake Sannin smashes his Susanoo down at the group, but Fugaku counters the attack by activating his own Susanoo and blocking the hit. Jiraiya charges to his comrades again, but before he can reach them, Orochimaru looks at the ground and is about to form a wall to separate them. Before that can happen, Hiruzen dashes forward and under the Susanoo, extending his staff and smashing it into the avatar from underneath, knocking it over and causing the Snake Sannin to lose sight of the group. As Orochimaru is about to get back up, Hiruzen creates a clone and jumps up. The clone creates a giant mud wall in front of the group while the real Hiruzen smashes the giant staff into the Sannin Susanoo, attempting to hold it in place. Go everyone! Regroup with the others in the village. I'll hold Orochimaru off, the clone tells his teammates. Jiraiya finally reaches the group. Are you sure? Can't you escape with us? Isn't it obvious at this point? He's not going to let all of us to escape. One of us has to hold him off and stay behind as a distraction. Why does it have to be you? Please, I've already lost Orochimaru and Tsunade. I can't lose you too. I'm sorry, Jiraiya. I failed you as your teacher. I let Orochimaru turn to the dark side and I couldn't bring myself to bring him down when I had the chance. Orochimaru is my responsibility, so let me bear it. Besides, all of you are still young compared to me. Even you, Jiraiya. You still have your lives ahead of you, while mine is already fleeting as it is. While Jiraiya is heartbroken, he accepts his master's final wishes. Have you got any final words for us?
Well, I suppose I do. Fugaku, the Uchiha clan has faced hatred in the past, but thanks largely to your rational judgment and Kushina's passion, we were able to leave those problems behind us. I think we both know that Kushina is going to be the next Hokage. Please support her as you have supported me and raise your children well. Itachi, you are a very capable young man. Don't let Shisui's death be in vain or corrupt your mind. Carry on his legacy as a best friend would. You have already become a successful shinobi, and I have no doubt that one day you will become a wonderful Hokage too. Just don't forget to let your feelings out every once in a while. A man weighed down by emotions they refuse to share with their friends is a weak one. And finally, Jiraiya, my only remaining student. I apologize for my failures as your teacher. So please, do me a favor and learn from my stupidity. Raise the next capable generation without repeating the mistakes I made. Remember, our future lies in the children we raise today. Teach them well and pass the will of fire on to them. The group takes in their Hokage's words, and with a final goodbye, Jiraiya reverse summons everyone out of there. The clone disperses itself, and the real Hiruzen, who's been barely holding on against his former student, gets one final memory of his teammates.
He smiles, even though he's on death's door.
Sacrificing yourself to save the others. How noble. And just like Shisui at the end, you smile. You're about to die. Everything you accomplished in your lifetime is about to be extinguished. All your power, jutsu, knowledge, memories, feelings. Even knowing that all of it is about to disappear, you feel happy. I fail to understand why.
Someone like you, who seeks immortality for no one other than himself, would never understand. Just as the first Hokage Hashirama knew. Just as my master, the second Hokage Tobirama knew when he sacrificed himself for his teammates and appointed me as Hokage. Just as everyone else who's ever died to protect something worth protecting knows. I, Hiruzen Sarutobi, the third Hokage, know that my efforts and everything that I accomplished won't disappear into nothingness after I die. My legacy will live on in the people of the Hidden Leaf Village. Enma, it's been an honor fighting alongside you. Will you stay with me for one final battle? It's been an honor for me too, Sarutobi. I will stand beside you until the end. And with that, the final battle between student and master begins. It's a sight to behold as two of the most powerful people in the world go all out against each other. Giant walls of flame, thunderstorms, meteor showers, earth constructs, water vortexes, and just bloody close quarters combat. The terrain is ravaged as the fight goes on. Hiruzen fights with everything he has to buy as much time as possible for his village to regroup and come up with ways to beat Orochimaru. Orochimaru, on the other hand, simply enjoys getting to see his master go all out for the final time, viewing this as a goodbye between them, a parting duel. While he himself doesn't know it, a small part of his subconscious is actually a little sad. Hiruzen spins his staff and, using the built-up momentum, smashes it into Orochimaru, who uses his Kusanagi blade to block the hit, but gets pushed back due to the force behind the attack. Hiruzen presses his advantage by lifting up his staff and bringing the weapon down on Orochimaru from above. The Sannin lifts up his sword and, supporting it with both hands, blocks the hit. While Hiruzen is still in midair, Orochimaru deflects his staff and kicks his old master in the gut. The Hokage is sent flying backwards, crashes into the water and rolls a bit before finding his balance and stopping his momentum, raising his head to see Orochimaru dropping down at him, ready to stab him with a Kusanagi blade. Hiruzen jumps back, avoiding the blow. Orochimaru stands up and weaves a few hand signs.
Lightning style, lightning rat, violent quake.
Several discs of electricity appear and home in on Hiruzen.
Wind style, great breach.
A giant vortex of wind dissolves the discs and rapidly approaches Orochimaru, who weaves another set of hand signs.
Fire style, majestic destroyer flame.
Orochimaru launches a wide-scale wall of flames, which is further amplified by the wind jutsu and turns into a massive inferno. A drop of sweat makes its way down Hiruzen's wrinkled, worn-down face as he weaves a multitude of hand signs and crouches down, placing his hands on the water below.
Earth and water style, giant waterfall jutsu.
A huge mud wall emerges from the water, and a wave of water starts flowing from its top. The flames crash into the waterfall. The water weakens the flames, and the earth blocks the remaining fire.
Truly impressive, Sensei. Combining earth and water into a single jutsu. I'll be sure to try it out once I go back to the Leaf Village.
Orochimaru exclaims as a giant purple fist breaks through the mud wall. The shockwave from the attack sends Hiruzen stumbling backwards. Orochimaru looks at the water under Hiruzen's feet and more spikes begin emerging rapidly. The Hokage does his best to avoid them all, even destroying some of them with Enma, but there is just too many. Soon, one of the old man's arms gets impaled. Hiruzen screams in pain, but doesn't give up. And even as Orochimaru's Susanoo lunges at him, continues fighting by charging up a massive water-severing wave jutsu. The high-pressure stream collides with Orochimaru Susanoo's chest, and due to the amount of chakra poured into it, is able to breach the avatar. Orochimaru dodges to the side. Hiruzen then charges at his student and swings the Enma staff at him. The hit is hard enough to send Orochimaru stumbling backwards. The Hokage presses his attacks as the Sannin continues blocking them with his sword and slowly retreating. Hiruzen has far passed the point where he should have died from exhaustion. Even in his old and weakened state, somehow these blows match what he would have been able to do in his physical prime. This storm of attacks could only be delivered by someone who had decided on death. Orochimaru starts to get overwhelmed.
How? You're clearly on your deathbed, yet you somehow got stronger. I don't understand this at all. A shinobi is at their strongest when they have something to protect. Didn't I teach you that, Orochimaru?
Hiruzen screams as he crashes Enma down on Orochimaru's Kusanagi blade, cracking it.
The Kusanagi blade cracked?
The Snake Man can't believe his eyes.
Very well then. I shall respond with my full power as well.
Orochimaru's attacks increase in strength and ferocity. Furthermore, he activates his Susanoo again, this time covering it in armor. He swings the Avatar's sword at his former master, who can do nothing but dodge. Even so, the shockwave from the blow makes Hiruzen's old bones rattle. Orochimaru then jumps out of his Susanoo and punches the Hokage in the face, rocking his brain and making him drop Enma. Hiruzen falls toward the water below. Orochimaru makes a small platform for him to land on. The old man drops down onto the hard rock. Orochimaru lands right next to him, not a sweat drop on his face. The student and master lock eyes one final time. Orochimaru looks almost sad.
Even if I do nothing, you're about to die. Any last words, Sensei?
A tear forms in Hiruzen's eye.
I have already told my goodbyes to the ones I hold dear. For you, a person that kills children in violent and inhumane experience just to get what you want, I have nothing to say, except that your path will lead you nowhere. Do you even have a reason for attacking the village? Any reason at all? I guess I do kind of have a goal. I find it very interesting to watch things in motion. I get no pleasure when the world is still, like a windmill that isn't turning. To me, such a thing is truly boring. So now, I want to put things into motion myself. The first step is crushing the Leaf Village. Then what do you hope to achieve by gaining power? When you're the strongest in the world and have no one left to crush, how will you spin that windmill then?
Orochimaru stands quiet for a moment.
I'll make things work. In fact, I already know what I will do after gaining such power. But since you're already on death's door, I don't see any reason to explain it to you.
Orochimaru leans closer to his master and lifts up an arm.
Goodbye, Sensei.
The Sannin drives his hand into Hiruzen's chest, killing him. Orochimaru sighs and walks away from the corpse.
I used up quite a bit of chakra in this battle. Plus, getting anyone into my dimension now that they know about it would be quite difficult. It seems like your last wish came true, Sarutobi. The leaf will live another day.
With that, the Sannin's right eye starts to spin and he returns to the real world. As soon as he does, multiple adamantine chains wrap around his body faster than he can react. Orochimaru grunts and tries to break free, but it's no use. He's surrounded by Kushina, Guy, Kakashi, Fugaku, Jiraiya, and Itachi. Your rampage ends here! Kushina declares and starts weaving hand signs. Orochimaru notices a scroll on the ground next to her feet. The chains start pulling him closer to it.
No way. They plan to seal me away?
Orochimaru thinks. He tries to put up his Susanoo, but his efforts are pointless. The adamantine chains suppress chakra. The Sannin gets closer and closer to the scroll and suddenly gets an idea. With his hands at his sides, he's unable to perform jutsu. So instead, he extends his neck right before he's about to get sealed and shows his fangs. Kakashi and Itachi jump in front of Kushina to protect her, but strangely, the Sannin doesn't aim for her. The sealing jutsu activates and a binding flash of light illuminates the area. When the light settles, Orochimaru is nowhere to be seen. On the scroll, a new pattern emerges, signifying that the sealing jutsu was a success. Everyone sighs in relief. Operation Konoha Crush is officially over. In the building below, a figure appears. The person sighs.
Good thing I found out about this before the invasion.
The person lifts up their sleeve to reveal 4 Sharingan implanted into their arm. One of the eyes closes forever.
Izanagi, a forbidden power possessed by those who have the Sharingan. I knew the eyes of Arinaka and Asuto would come in handy. The only difficult part was having to die before I got sealed. Good thing biting into my own neck and severing my head from my body in that blinding flash of light seemed to do the trick. While sealed, I had no way to move or regenerate. Therefore, I died. And then appeared here.
Orochimaru grins as he reaffirms to himself what happened. While he has the element of surprise on his side, the Sannin decides that he would rather save it for later. Right now, he's not low on chakra, but he's not full either. All his support had seemingly been wiped out, not to mention that he'd be up against the strongest of the people in the Hidden Leaf Village, including Kushina and Guy. Orochimaru quietly makes his way out of the village and meets up with Madara in the agreed-upon spot. How did the mission go?
You already know that. I'm sure Zetsu already relayed all the details to you.
He did. All of this preparation and planning, and you got only 2 of the targets?
I'd say I did a pretty good job, all things considered. Our forces wiped out a lot of Konoha's manpower, killed many civilians, and damaged most of their infrastructure. I killed 2 of the strongest people in the village, and you captured the One-Tails. What are the losses? Do they manage to outweigh the benefits?
Well, when you put it that way, it seems you did a fine job. The losses aren't large. The sand and the sound were mere pawns from the very start, and the only other losses were your summoning serpent and a bunch of sorcery's puppets. Nothing we didn't foresee. You killed Shisui Uchiha, right? Where are his eyes currently?
Sadly, I wasn't able to get them. Shisui burned his own face off in his last moments before death. I couldn't recover his Sharingan.
I see.
So then, what's the plan now?
About that. Hey, Kimimaro was your name, right? Yes. Before we head to the meeting spot, we've been instructed to complete one more task. I wasn't informed about any other missions. That's understandable, since the task is to kill any and all remaining Orochimaru's goons. Kimimaro's eyes widen, but before he can do anything, Deidara pushes him off of the clay bird, putting a small spider on his chest in the process. The Akatsuki member makes a hand sign and the spider suddenly gets larger. Large enough to wrap its legs around Kimimaro's whole body. The boy struggles to escape, but he can't pry the thing off. Sorry, kid. Nothing personal. The spider detonates, creating a massive explosion that wipes out a big section of the forest below. Deidara flies away like nothing had ever happened. About that, Pain and I had a little talk, and we unanimously decided on something. The biggest threat to the Akatsuki at the moment is you.